This show powered by AgriGold for Central Illinois, your AgriGold reps Brett Lahr. He is your AgriGold reps for Central Illinois. This podcast of Markets Club podcast with Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading in Dodge City branch. We run almost for this weekend after this crazy election week and the trade in the board and the beans markets. That's markets are looking for some help with the world agricultural supply and demand estimate report on this morning. We were talking about that with Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading in Dodge City, Kansas. We run almost for this weekend after this crazy election week and the trade in the board and the beans markets. That's markets are looking for some help with the world agricultural supply and demand estimate report on this morning. We were talking about that with Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading in Dodge City, Kansas. How is the corn yields for in their field in central U.S.?
Yep. Thank you, Caesar. Yes, it has been a crazy week with the election happening, Fed rate meeting, and a November WASDE report. Plenty of data and changes and emotions in this market this week. And I am, like you, very thankful to get through it and get to a weekend and take a little pause here this weekend, hopefully, and settle in and digest everything that's happened over the last week. But the WASDE report here
Let's start
today.
our conversation about the grain stock report on this morning. Could you describe by the number from the Department of Agricultural?
Yep, we had that November WASDE report came out here today. Corn yield lowered nationally by zero point 0.4 bushels. So we didn't see that yield creep up. It was higher in the Dakotas, Ohio, and Indiana, lower in the I states, the South and the Southeast. Overall, those seeds are still a really strong crop. Bulls were probably a little disappointed that demand wasn't raised up on ethanol and exports, particularly on the export side of things. Still a strong crop in the U.S. Beans stole the show, though. Beans had a big yield drop, yield adjustment dropping 1.4 bushels an acre, lowered production, tightened the U.S. stock picture. The stocks to use ratio on the bean market went from 12.5 to 10.8. And anytime we get below a 10% stocks to use ratio on corn or beans, the trade gets a little nervous. So I think that yield adjustment really caught the trade off guard, and we saw the markets pop up, but they didn't hold those gains here as we approach the close of the session. Beans are up 4.5 right now, but they were as up as much as 15, so we're 10 cents off that high. But kind of a left hook when the market was looking for a right hook. But we'll see. We'll see how everything gets digested here over the weekend.
How about the beans yields in the report from this morning?
Yeah, just a left hook out of nowhere, and I mean, I think we were looking for maybe a tighter crop and reduced yields based on the way things were finished, and we came into the end of the year, the dryness across all the grain producing belt. But boy, that 1.4 bushels an acre was really a tightening by the USDA and excited the market, caught them maybe a little bit out of position.
Brady, I have a question. When we get the number or down for the export numbers from China by these tariffs?
Yeah, China tariffs, that's and then, just the general demand picture's big uncertainty, and then the politics and policy going forward. I think those are going to be the two things outside of production that are going to dictate where this market needs to go and will go and has opportunity to go. But yeah, we'll see what happens with reciprocal tariffs from China. I think there's lots of questions about the strength of the Chinese economy, needing some stimulus over there, some liquidity. Right now, they can buy beans from other places, so they don't have to come to the U.S. It's great to have a place like Mexico buying corn from us. Had some flashes of beans though to unknown in China this morning, so that was good to see. But lots of uncertainty on politics and policy going forward with China and the big macro markets.
Do you have some concerns about the tariff near future?
I think it's on everybody's radar of, what happened last time Donald Trump was president, 2016, 17, 18. But let's remember that things are different and history, while it can repeat itself, it's not always the same. This is a different term, different time, and he'll have a different staff around him. So I think it's on everybody's radar. And it's definitely something farmers should be concerned about going forward and managing risk accordingly. But it's not something I want to pencil in as a has to happen type of deal, Caesar.
How is the corn yields for in the field for corn harvest in southern Missouri and Kansas?
I'd say, out here in Kansas and the Western Plains, we had a pretty good year as a whole. There's pockets with problems. Not the best year for some folks, but in at least my geography, far western Kansas, we had a really good year. But it's not everywhere. There's pockets of hit and miss. Um, it's far from a production problem. It's not a wide spanning drought by any means. Not everybody did great, but yields have been pretty good across the board for corn, milo, beans, but hit and miss definitely.
Do you have any final thoughts or recap of our conversation about the world agricultural supply and demand and the price of the cattle?
Yep. Well, always appreciate the opportunity to be on and visit with you, Caesar. Appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, this has been a dynamic week. Lots of information to digest. I think these markets need to catch their breath over the weekend and let the dust settle and see how we really feel going forward. So I would expect maybe some more volatility as we go into next week. As a producer, I'm always looking out to manage risk, but I don't want to box myself out of opportunity going down the road. So, cattle guys, LRP is a great foundational tool. Encourage you to look into that. And, grain guys, converting bushels to cash, making the right store sell decision. These markets don't paint yourself in a marketing corner. Don't expect the unexpected, and don't catch yourself out of position, whether it's undersold or oversold. Try to find some balance in this craziness that's out there today. Thanks again for having me today, though, Caesar.
Thanks, Brady. This is B. That is Brady Huck for today's program on Back Roads of Illinois.